Hello again, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. So, I've been pretty slack over the last week or so with doing this kind of stuff, but in my defense, I've been pretty busy. I've had a lot of life things going on, as you can see. I'm moving, so I've been sorting all that out. And yeah, I think when we last left off, we were looking at recording a song. So, the next thing that I was doing with that song was recording the synths, and that's where I've kind of hit a roadblock. Well, I wouldn't say a roadblock. I've been distracted. So essentially, I've been spending a lot of time getting to really know my Eurorack system and figuring everything out. Like, as you would know, if anyone's ever have a Eurorack system, it is an addiction and an obsession. But it is super rewarding. Like, some of the sounds that I've been pulling out of this thing has just been unlike anything else that I've been able to kind of create before. So I've just been spending a lot of time just really trying to figure out the nuts and bolts of it, and just like figuring out what'll happen if I do this, and if I do this, and what will this do if I do this, that kind of stuff. And it's a really kind of hard thing to get into because it's not really, well, I mean, there's a lot of places that explain it quite well, but I mean, it's a pretty strong learning curve. So it's just been one of those things that, yeah, ever since I've had it, and I've been able to actually like physically play with it and interact with it, it's just making a lot more sense. So I thought maybe in this video, what I might do is go over where my system currently stands. There's been a few little changes and some other sorts of things. So yeah, and then maybe we'll do a quick little patch, and I'll try and explain what I'm doing in like the most simple way possible, because this whole modular thing is extremely confusing. But you'll get there. You'll figure it out. So first things first, the biggest thing that I've kind of done is this new case, as you can see right here. So this case is janky as hell, but that's kind of the vibe I was going for. It's totally DIY. Look, I can barely even use a screwdriver, so the fact that I pulled this together, I'm actually pretty happy with myself. I'll quickly show you from a bit closer what it actually is. You can see my super messy desk as well. I have a really tendency to have a messy desk, but whatever. So the case itself is actually just a toolbox that I got from Bunnings. I think it was like $35. It was really cheap. I actually bought it as a toolbox because I needed a toolbox, and I got home and put it next to my synth, well, my one row of 84 HP, and I was like, you know what, I reckon this can fit in there. So I spent the day figuring that out. The other little thing that I've got is the LED light, which I got that from IKEA, which was like 20 bucks as well. Just have this, like, I don't know what this is. I got it from the hardware store. This maybe put blinds in it or something. So I just kind of screwed it all in. As you can see from the side, super dodgy, janky as hell. Sorry about this sketchy camera, but whatever. And yeah, so what I've got in there is two 84 HP rows of tip-top audio, just the rails. Yeah, pretty straightforward. And on the side, I have these little guys here where I can hang my cables off. I've got that on both sides. I've got my power supply underneath, which is powering the Uzus, and that's all got cables, got mixer route. And the other thing that I did on the top is I just attached this little power cube thingy, so I can just plug this in and charge up the whole system. So yeah, super dodgy, super dodgy, but again, I'm pretty happy with it because it's so sketchy. I do actually have a different case that's being built at the moment, so once that comes through, I will swap everything over. But I'll be sad to see this go, because I'm yeah, proud of myself for actually making something, because it is not my strong point. Right, so here is my the modules that I'm currently using. So this is kind of the best view that I could get for this. A bit tricky because it's flat, but whatever, we can go through it. So first thing we have here is the musical instruments music thing collaboration with the ears. So this thing is super fun. This little gold part here is the contact microphone, so you can like scratch it. You might have seen in my case I have this little toothbrush. I saw in a video, if you have an electric toothbrush kind of playing it, it kind of creates these cool kind of textures, and you can run that through external effects, and it's pretty fun. Yeah, super fun little module. I've been using it just to kind of tap it and use that kind of triggering some drums and things like that. Next thing we have here is the CalSynth Platts, which is the clone of the Mutable Instruments plat. So I've been using this one a lot. Really nice kind of synth voice with heaps of different choices. Also has drums and textures and noise and things like that. So starting out, it's a really, really great little voice that you could probably get a lot of use out of. Really digging it. Sounds really nice. Heaps of versatility. Next one here is the Nano Rings by CalSynths, yet again, which is a clone of the Mutable Instruments rings. Now, same thing again, kind of as the plats, it's just a single kind of voice, but I'm really digging this thing. Get some really beautiful sounds out of it, really nice for kind of ambient textures or kind of really high lead type things as well. Just really simple, really clean, really good module. So yeah, starting out, I'd definitely recommend any of these two. Really great little modules. I mean, you can get clones from anywhere, or you can buy the Mutable Instruments stuff if you've got the money and the HP for it. So yeah, pretty much patching everything with these guys. Next up is the Mutable Instruments Ripples filter. You can see here, really fun as well. Really nice filter, just really clean, does everything that you kind of need it to do. I've been playing around with it a bit and kind of having the resonance cranked up so it kind of self-oscillates and becomes a voice itself. So maybe I'll go through a quick run through of how I do that in maybe a different video, and kind of try and explain it really easy as how filters can kind of be used in that way. But yeah, pretty much also been using this in every patch. So the next one here is Forbidden Planet by Tip Top Audio, which is another filter that I got. So you might have noticed in the very first one I had the Make Noise Optimix, and I decided to get rid of that and sold it and swapped it out. I just wasn't getting a whole bunch of love for it. I don't think it's a really good beginner type module. I think maybe once I start kind of comprehending a bit more, it's probably something I might look at again, but for now I just wanted something that was a bit more playable and that kind of made more sense to me. So yeah, Forbidden Planet filter, really nice filter, really clean. These two filters are similar at first impressions. I think that the Forbidden Planet is maybe a bit cleaner. The Ripples is really kind of crunchy, which is kind of the whole point of it. So yeah, they're similar, but they complement each other quite well. Next one I have up is the Peaks, the U Peaks by CalSynth again. Really enjoying this one. At first I was a bit confused by it. But what I've kind of been using it mostly for is as an LFO. So I just kind of had a bit of an aha moment with LFOs yesterday and kind of what they can do. So I'll quickly try and explain it as simply as I can that kind of makes sense to me. Essentially, the first knob here kind of creates the speed of the LFO. So you can use that LFO as what's known as a clock. So then you can use the clock, which is simply just setting a tempo. You can send that to kind of anywhere to trigger anything else. So the connection between LFOs and triggers is something that really kind of clicked for me over the last few days playing that. So triggers was kind of confusing to me a little bit, but yeah, so I've mostly been using it for LFO to run into the quantizer. So yeah, I've been playing around with this one heaps, but also this has kick drums, snares, ADSR, which I haven't really been using that much yet. It's got the secret modes, it's got a little sequencer and a few other little bits and pieces. So yeah, very cool little module. The next one I have is the Disting MK2. So this is a new one that I actually bought secondhand. I got a really cheap deal on it. Had the space for it, really wanted to try it out. So this is a multi-function kind of module. Mostly I've just been playing around with the quantizer, trying to figure that out. And also just started playing around with the delay, the tap delay. So heaps of examples, and like there's way more stuff in this that you can do. But like going quickly to my last point to maybe make it a little bit clearer. So the Disting, the delay is a clockable delay. So that means that you can use the LFO as the clock, which is the tempo, and you send the LFO out into the Disting, and this controls the speed of the delay. So hopefully that clears it up, kind of what a clock and what an LFO kind of is useful. I know this is probably really common information to a lot of people, but yeah, stuff I've kind of still been figuring out. Same thing again, next one we have the Make Noise function, which I've really been enjoying using it in different ways. It sounds really cool, anything really gritty, you can get some really gnarly sounds out of this thing. But also same thing again, triggering it again with the LFO clock and maybe running the rings or something into it, you can get some really nice interesting sounds there as well. Next up is the Monsoon by Calsynth, which is the Mutable Instruments Clouds. So look, this thing is it's so complex. It's so complex, but even just plugging it in and just getting a really nice reverb is really beautiful. So the old combination of rings into clouds, it's a cliche for a reason. It's really nice, sounds really clean. Just can get some really beautiful tones, but obviously there's a lot more you can do with this. So I'm barely scratching the surface with this thing, but yeah, just messing around with it, it's heaps of fun. Sounds really nice. So the next one, I have the ALM Busy Circuit SBG. So I use this to bring my guitar pedals into my system. So I had a bit of an issue with it at first, but it was I just wasn't really patching it correctly, and I kind of worked around that. So essentially, yeah, I've got, you can't really see them, but I've got my delay, my phaser, and my reverb pedal. So essentially, I will send the SBG into the pedals and then comes back through. You can just plug your modulation source or your OS whatever into there. So let's say, for an example, I can have the output of rings into this, the SBG, and then the SBG going out into the VCA, which I've been using just as a mixer. And then that way you can apply any of the guitar effects onto the sound that's coming out of the rings. And I mean, you can use it for anything really, but that's just an example. So yeah, really good really good module, really enjoying it, because bringing guitar pedals into my system was a really big thing that I wanted to make sure I could do. And yeah, that's working out just as I kind of planned, so that's good. Next one is just the Tip Top Audio Usus, which is essentially just powering everything. I got an expander cable, which was like 20 bucks or something, so I could power the rest of my modules. So yeah, the next one is the Behringer Model D, which I've mounted. I took out of the case and put it into here. So yet again, super versatile. There's heaps you can do with it. It's quite a large module. Yeah, at first had a bit of a trouble kind of figuring out how it worked with everything else, but I've kind of got that working pretty well now. So maybe I'll do a video on that one day as well, just explaining it really easily, how to actually integrate it into the Eurorack system, because it was something I had a bit of trouble with. But hey, we got there. It's sounding really fun. The last one is the Mutable Instruments Veils, which is the VCA. So I've essentially just been using this as a 4-channel mixer. So for example, I have the rings and whatever the rings is doing into one channel. Maybe on another one I'll have the plats into a different channel. I'll have the Model D, just whatever the kind of combination is, and they're all going out to my external mixer, which is off to the side there. So yeah, that's pretty much where my system stands at the moment. There's a few other things that I've been eyeing off. I've been keeping a pretty good look at what is happening with the secondhand market. People are always selling them. I mean, having said that, if the cost of this is something that is throwing you off, for example, I brought the Optimix and I sold it in literally 20 minutes and didn't lose anything. Maybe I lost like $5 on it. But hey, it's kind of like a self-sustaining currency. So yes, the initial costs for this are quite expensive, but if you look at it, you can just get rid of them and sell them easily. You're going to get your money back regardless. So yeah, that one's really up to you. But look, there we go. That's what I have at the moment. I've been having so much fun just playing around with this thing, experimenting with it, figuring out what everything does. Yeah, it's great. I mean, if you're into this kind of stuff, I would definitely recommend making the jump from, I guess, traditional synths or even using digital VSTs. Not that there is anything wrong with them whatsoever. They're brilliant tools, but just having this amount of control and pulling the sounds out of this thing that I said before you can't get anywhere else that I've seen, and just really understanding, like, there's more that comes with this than actually just playing it. Like, for example, I've been learning so much about how stuff actually works, and even building this kind of thing is something that I would never do before. So, you know, like, I'm learning how to build stuff. I'm learning how all this sorts of synthesis actually works. And yeah, I probably spend just as much time learning about it, watching YouTube videos, as I do actually playing it. So it's been something that's given me really good focus to kind of what I will think about in these trying times with so much going on. So yeah, I've pretty much just dived head first. But look, I think the initial obsession is definitely there, and it's always going to be there, but I really do need to start working on these songs a bit more. So once I'm into the new place and I'm more settled, I'm going to keep recording and we'll get this thing finished. So yeah, maybe in another video I'll do a bit of basic patching, but for now, yeah, look at Eurorack. It's super fun.